Welcome to the Redevelopment Commission meeting for the City of Bloomington for Monday, June 1st, 2026. We'll start the meeting with a roll call, please.
Sue Scambaluri, here.
John West here.
Sam Fleener, Monroe County School Corporation.
Can't hear you.
Randy Cassidy, present.
Laura McRobbie.
Thank you. And staff present, please.
Dana Kerr, legal.
Kendall Kanoki, Engineering Department.
Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, Anna Killian Hansen. I am remote, but I am here.
Christina Finley, Hand Department.
Kami Caswell, Hand Department.
Jane Cooper Smith, Economic and Sustainable Development.
Jeff McKim, City Controller.
Okay, everybody? Well, first,
We do also have Jess Goodman from Parking who's going to address things
Thank you
later.
very first item on our meeting agenda this evening is the approval of minutes from May 4th, 2026. Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners on the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. Since we have some online, we'll do a vote by roll call, please.
Sue Scambaluri, yes.
John West, yes.
Laura McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the claims register for May 22nd, 2026. Any questions or comments from commissioners on this claims register? Commissioner Scambaluri.
Commissioner Scambaluri. Okay. On page 3 of 8, among the claims registers, we have a social media marketing for the Hand Department. Could you share a bit about what that program is and what the goals are for that?
Hold on, I gotta get there. I think that's something that Angela does for her neighborhood improvement grants.
Okay.
So she has somebody who goes in and posts things to like our Facebook page and Instagram and like all that stuff about neighborhood improvement stuff.
Okay. And she contracts with Tori Hamilton to actually do that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And I think is it Winslow Ranch is the name of his company?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners on the claims register for May 22nd, 2026? If not, I'll take a motion.
I've got one quick question. On the 2519, it'd be on page 23, on the ESNet utilities, is this something in the past prior to their lease starting, or will we be continuing to pay the utilities for that?
I can speak to that. So the arrangement on that lease is that we pay utilities and they reimburse in their monthly rent payments at a set rate, and then we reconcile at year end. And that, yeah.
Yeah. That works, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just for clarity, that was a standardized agreement that they had to comply with. It was a federal requirement, so it was not our template by any means. And I would highly advise against getting into a similar release in the future.
Yes.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Yes.
Page 8, pay number 5239, Mother's Nature Landscaping. Is that being paid out of the proper account? It seems that wouldn't be a TIF payment, it'd be more of an operating payment.
So whatever was in the resolution.
I don't know what's in the resolution, but it's not, it seems like a annual maintenance expense, not something that the TIF would fund.
We can look it up.
Thank you.
Will you let us know after? Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Anything else before we move on this item for the claim register of May 22nd? I'll take a motion, please.
I'll move approval of claims register for May 9th, 22nd.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by a roll call, please.
Sue Scambaluri, yes.
John West, yes.
Laura McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the payroll register for May 15th, 2026. Any comments or questions on this item?
Move approval of the payroll register for May 15th, 2026.
Second.
First and a second, vote by roll call, please.
C. Scambolery, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on our agenda are reports. Do we have a director's report this evening?
No director's report, happy to answer any questions. And then I would also like to allow Kendall to do his engineering, Hopewell engineering update under my report, please.
Okay, thank you. That said, we will turn it over to Mr. Knapp.
I'll go ahead. Kendall Kanoki, Engineering Department. So during the duration of the PUD approval process, you had requested updates at every meeting about the progress of our design. At this point, the PUD has been approved. I think the final changes are before you tonight. So I kind of wanted to get a temperature check, but my impression, or I think plan moving forward, is to move full steam ahead on the design and moving towards all the approvals. That's one of the agenda items tonight, is authorization for myself or the engineering department to apply for all the needed approvals for Hopewell South. But the idea being that I kind of come to you when there are major milestones or specific things I need feedback on, but not necessarily at every meeting moving forward. I just wanted to make sure that all of the RDC members were in agreement. I mean, I can continue to come every 2 weeks, but I don't feel it's really necessary at this point, but just wanted to get your feedback.
Comments or questions from commissioners on that question for Mr. Knapp?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with Kendall. Once we've codified the PUD, then I guess we are full steam ahead. The reasoning behind your visits before was that we were working at a snail's pace because we weren't sure where the PUD was going to land, but I think we maybe have a grasp on it now, so I'd be okay with it personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, I think, Kendall, you said any significant updates and milestones, and those obviously would be important to report back, and maybe if we go as long as 6 months, there ought to be out one of those, even then, maybe something that comes in at 6 months, so we stay on top of things.
I would agree. I would suggest quarterly, though. It seems like there's something worthwhile to at least report quarterly, even if everything's fine. So
You're all thinking way longer term than I was in terms of the pace of this project. I would assume I will be back much more frequently than that. But.
That would mean it'll be good news, right?
Yeah.
I agree with Sue in regards to quarterly. The question I have for you specifically is, what is the time frame you anticipate the engineering to be able to be completed so that we can move forward with actual construction documents?
Yeah, I was going to get into that with Resolution 2638 here, but just very briefly, we're shooting for a July Plan Commission for primary plat. After that, the PUD allows the secondary plat to be approved at staff level. So we would submit the secondary plat after the primary plat is approved, and as part of that submission, also submit a variety of other required approvals, the PUD final plan, the site development permit, all of these other permits that are required. And once we get through permitting and approvals, we would then prepare the bid docs and put it out to bid. So I still anticipate we can get the infrastructure out to bid this year. However, with the couple delays that we've had, I don't anticipate we will be able to do much construction before the end of the year. It's probably going to be mostly in 2027. However, you do have the lot line adjustment and kind of those initial homes that could start this year if that's the desire. And it's possible that the contractor might get out and do some earthwork, some utility work, depending on weather and all of that. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And just before we go on, I did look up the Mother Nature's. The resolution does specify it's the downtown consolidated TIF. So that's why it's open like that.
Yeah, we probably in the, wow, he wrote that up. Sorry to jump in there. We probably ought to be looking at that a little closer in the future. It seems to make sense maybe when we're doing the resolution, but I don't think it's always applicable.
Yeah, I think that was just an oversight. That should have probably gone to the 2519 account because it is, and that's how most of our other landscaping contracts have been paid. So Dana and I can work on an amendment to adjust that funding line, and we can work on switching that over in the next couple meetings. Thank you.
I was just gonna quick comment. I agree with the general comments in terms of occasional updates being warranted. I am curious because there had been the previous discussion about how many, let's say, lots might be graded for no-step entrances. If that's something that, at what stage that might be further determined, just because it was an outstanding question. I don't have a good sense of when that can be fully evaluated.
Yeah, we just kind of finalized with the architect the actual building footprints on each lot, the door locations, the parking, and the garage locations. So they're actually working now on kind of the detailed grading plan, which will be able to answer that question. So I anticipate probably the next couple of weeks we'll probably know that information.
So I would like to invite you to come back when you have that information.
I'll take a note.
Thank you, appreciate that. If that's it for our combined directors and engineering report, we'll go to legal.
Just to let you know, we will start the Hopewell South TIF process. Since we were dealing with the PUD again tonight, didn't want to overwhelm, so probably the next meeting or first meeting in July, we'll pick that up. We'll get it done by the end of the year. It takes a couple months to get through, but there's not a rush to get it through. We just would like to finalize it by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a treasurer's report?
Yes, thank you. Jeff McKim, City Controller and Treasurer of the RDC. I wanted to talk just for a couple of minutes about the new TIF project status report that was included in your packet. And the idea is that we're trying to come up with a format that will be included in every packet. So you will essentially from now on see this report updated with the current data in every packet for the RDC. And it probably looks somewhat familiar in that it is sort of based on a report developed by our former controller. And Christina has put an incredible amount of effort into going back in time and trying to figure out, what was missing. And we guarantee you there are still old projects or old commitments that are out there. So you'll see new things appear over time as we discover them. The overall, just to talk about how the report is organized, the top block just shows literally the cash balance of the relevant TIF funds. So you have 4 funds that you manage: the RDC, the 2519 fund, the consolidated TIF, the PROW TIF, and the Meridian TIF. And so that's the actual cash balance of those funds as of the date that's listed on the report. And then after that is the resolutions and their approved amount, expended amount, and remaining balance are kind of grouped by project. So Hopewell East, South, Hopewell West, 714 South Rogers, the Showers West buyouts, First Street reconstruction, B-line extension, 17th Street West, College Square, the Southwest Quadrant, and then we have the kind of more general maintenance and appraisals blocks. So again, this shows you what you approved by resolution, how much has been expended, and what's the balance. And every now and then, we'll see something that's quite a bit older that will, something that you authorized a long time ago that engineering will clean up and make a claim on. And so I would expect us to see a few, lines added from time to time from much older resolutions. But I think this gives you an idea of what the report is going to look like. We definitely encourage you, when you get the packet and see this, to send us any questions about details in email so that we can certainly give you the answers in the public meeting, but you'll give us a chance because there's a lot of detail here and a lot of specifics. Give us the opportunity to actually research the status of any particular resolution or project. So are there any, just that said, are there any questions? Yes.
This is kind of a design consideration. Would it be possible to put the project name at the top of each block? And then at the bottom, you just gonna say total, but,
Well, it was, because when I did that, it's in a table, and so the names are at the top, but when you
Just doesn't
export
print
it
that
into a
way.
PDF, you know, because you gotta merge that, John.
Well, we get what you're saying. It's the way that we had intended. It just doesn't export to PDF that way, but
I can go in
Well,
and
well-
maybe put like another line in there,
that's all right,
so.
I'll read it from the bottom, I'll read from the bottom up.
we're with you.
I did that just to annoy you, John.
I'm shocked.
As long as the
For the
bubbles are
record.
there and shaded, we're okay.
I had a question that, again, maybe I'm just missing something, which is very likely, that all of these projects are under just the consolidated TIF?
Or
Under-
the RDC. I don't think we have any Prow, and we have no Meridian projects.
Right. And again, this just is to reinforce those distinctions, I think, because I'm back to the earlier discussion about keeping track of what accounts things should come out of. Seems to me it would be helpful to have, and maybe it's just another column, a very narrow column, that just indicates, could be put somewhere where it will export
Which
to
fund?
say the consolidated TIF or the RDC TIF in every block.
We can do that.
So we just keep track of what's going into what. I would find that helpful.
We can do that. Right, Christina?
Sure, I'll get right on that.
And the RDC piece is not really a TIF.
Right, it's just the,
It's just an account.
Yeah, we'll just call it a fund. I mean, it's a
that's
fund.
what I thought, because it's kind of a misnomer when it's under TIF balances, it's not really a,
We can call it fund balances.
yeah, there you
I'm
go.
changing it right now.
I support and agree with
Right.
Commissioner Robbie's request to just have these projects organized by TIF source, so that's easy to kind of reference. And if we could justify the dollar figures, it's just easier to kind of read it as how much each, just because that way they all line up. Thanks.
Hey Jeff, quick question regarding just clarification, when we look at our balances that we have, that 26 million on our consolidated, that's the inclusive of the 11 million, the money that came in from the trades district also?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure where that was. And then when we look at our, our College Square portion, if there's some things that were in previously from a resolutions, is that something that we bring up in regards to, like you said, there's some things that may be out there in the back? I was just thinking of legal costs that we did incur in there. It's just one from a resolution standpoint. Or are these just specific resolutions? Not particularly of the total overall cost we've had.
It's not the total overall cost. This is what's currently open.
Currently open.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't include anything from a closed standpoint.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, this is really helpful. Really look forward to having this
Yeah.
in each agenda. So thank you for putting this together and for maintaining it. I know it's simple to look at, but I know it's a lot of work to pull it together. So hopefully it'll be easier to maintain now that it's solidly in place. We will, if that's it for our treasurer's report, we'll move to our business development update.
No update today, but always happy for questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think it's time to move on to new business. Our first resolution of the evening is Resolution 2633, determination of no excess assessed value in the allocation areas and ratification of notice thereof. Who would like to speak to that?
We have Justin Chang with us from Reedy. If you wouldn't mind, basically, the short version is that This is a statement that you make every year that says that you evaluate all your projects and what expenditures that you believe that you're going to have, and you look at the revenues and expected that the revenues that you have brought in the preceding year, and to determine if there's any of the captured assessed value that you could revenues that you could pass through onto the underlying taxing districts. And this is a statement that, no, you have projects and needs for the funds that have been captured, and that at this point in time for this a year, you do not have any excess to pass through. But I can let Justin explain it more in a technical terms.
That really is the gist of the reporting requirement. There's really, I have 3 documents here, which you guys all should have as well. There's 3 parts to this. First is the resolution, which is essentially the RDC saying whether yes we are or no we're not going to pass through. For the resolution, I believe it's no we are not passing through. Okay. And then another requirement is that we need to send letters out to all the underlying units, including the county auditor, to notify them of our us not passing through pay 2027 assessed values. And then the worksheet, Exhibit A, this is really just our calculations showing what we're not passing through. The requirement is if we need to spend half of the TIF revenues we expect to collect in 2027. Obviously, we don't know 2027 TIF revenues yet, so when we do the calculations, we use 2026's and just take next year's what we expect debt payments to be, capital outlays and professional services, and we get that to under 200% to say we're planning on using more than half of our TIF revenues in 2027, so we're electing not to pass through. Everything else in the reporting is similar to what you've all done the previous years. The only change is that we're more required to do it now, because if we don't, the auditor is required to automatically pass through 5% of assessed values. So really the only thing for us is to make sure we do it and send out all the notices.
I'm just curious of the additional documentation you just described. It's not part of this resolution. I don't see it as an attachment. Is there a reason for that? It seemed like it would be part of the resolution or an addendum or something.
Is it the?
Yeah, it wasn't. In the previous years, it wasn't attached to it. It's what we mailed out.
Which is okay. That's something that I provided Dana as a sample. This isn't always required as long as the RDC can show the expenditures.
It's what's mailed out. We'll get you all a copy of it as well as what's mailed out.
Okay.
Yes. And we'll just need to make sure the county auditor gets copies of what's signed today, so that she could do her uploads to Gateway and make sure we retain our assessed values, TIF assessed values next year.
Follow up on Deborah. Did what you have in your hand, is it just a blank form, or does it actually have the amounts filled out?
This is a template, so the amounts filled out are not real, right, if that makes sense. It's just for me as a reference when I'm going through it, yes, but.
It's actually more important than the template.
I don't know about that.
Well, it is for us.
Is it required from the DLGF to have these numbers attached to this resolution?
Technically, no. I don't believe it says so in the statute, but that may be more of a Dana question. But I don't believe it says so in the statute. The RDC just needs to make a notice of it to the underlying units and county auditor. We do it just because we have one ready just because it's easier to show numbers. But I don't believe it's required. But that may be a Dana question.
Yeah. The first time I was here last year was one of the first things that we did, and we didn't have it last year. But it does go out with a notice. So we'll include it when it goes out with the notice. We'll make sure that you all have a copy of it as well. But we have more expenditures than it is over more than half of the revenues.
Sure do.
So, if we have something, Dana, that needs to be inclusive, is that something that can be added into the packet?
Yeah, we could include it with the minutes at the next meeting. But we could go ahead and do the resolution because we want to get the notices out. But in the next meeting, we could bring it back and have it part of the minutes of the next meeting so that you have it in the public meeting.
You can make it part of the treasurer's report.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that all the paperwork is together with the same resolution, so the public has the ability to look at it.
And we can definitely attach it to the resolution for the public.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for commissioners? If not, I'll take a motion on resolution 26-33.
Move approval of resolution 2633.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by a roll call, please.
Steve Scambolery, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRae, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously for resolution 2633. A quick aside, just because I'm seeing the Meridian Spider TIF referenced in here and noting that wasn't in the TIF project status, it would be useful just in the next edition of the TIF project status to have that in there in the list. It was? Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
At the very top, it's 0.
Oh, you're right. I just I saw it but had kind of glossed over it. Thank you for that correction. Okay. We are moving on to resolution 2634, which is approval of technology upgrades at the mill. Who would like to speak to that?
Thank you. For the record, John Fernandez, Amplify Bloomington. What we're asking for is support from the RDC for $69,700 to upgrade and install new AV and technology for the event hall at the mill. As you may know, the equipment that's in the mill now is from the original redevelopment project in 2018. It's pretty dated, and with the level of investment that's happening there, it makes a lot of sense for us to really bring forward a complete product that really meets the standards of today and tomorrow. We did seek 3 proposals from various vendors, and the proposal that we're recommending is with Sharp Business Systems. It was the lowest of the 3 bids, but importantly, it was also the most on point in terms of demands for this kind of space because of their experience doing lots of more business-oriented corporate spaces. They were able to bring us a lot of really good ideas. They also include in their proposal a lot of staff training and 3 years of service and a 3-year guarantee on the work. We're here asking the Redevelopment Commission for support, and you're probably wondering, why would you invest in technology? Isn't that the tenant's responsibility? And in many cases, that would be true. I would just add a couple of things. The mill's currently being renovated with a little over $867,000 of grant funding that we were able to procure with IU's help to do the improvements, to expand capacity and include the value of the property. Part of that includes refining the event space so it has better acoustics, more privacy. You have to come over and check it out because it's coming together really well. The event space is a critical part of the overall programming that we do as Amplify Bloomington. We have lots of startup pitches there. Many of our partners do convenings there. And again, the technology is just falling behind what these clients and organizations expect as a baseline. I'd also note that, and it just seems to me that, if we're bringing $867,000 to the rebuilding of the space, the $69,000 we're asking to top it off for tech seems kind of a reasonable co-investment. I'd also note that if you recall last year, we experienced some significant structural issues at the mill with the southern wall, and resulted in the mill being closed, the event space being off limits for several months, which ended up, resulting in some material rental income losses for the mill. But at that time, John Crane, who was a structural engineer that was hired by the city, recommended some additional stabilization measures that the RDC, as owners of the building, would have been asked to make to preserve and protect the building from any further issues related to the southern wall. And with the renovations that we're doing, those additional measures aren't required. Because as you may recall from the plans that we shared with you, we've reinstalled the floor in the event hall, and it's created a much more stable environment where you just don't have that big open expanse with the 30-foot ceilings. So that's why we're here today, and we would ask that you would support our proposal. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners on Resolution 2634?
John, what's the lifespan of this equipment estimated to be?
Well, it's hard.
8 years on what we currently have.
Yeah, I would assume it would be at least that long. I mean, you're always going to have new, advances in technology. The package that we've selected, we think has a lot of durability because we're not doing anything that's radical in terms of the types of uses. I mean, the proposal includes way better miking systems, better speakers, better technology that's user-friendly for customers and for ourselves. So I think it would be reasonable to assume it'll have a decent lifespan of at least, 5 to 10 years.
John, I have a related question, which is that will you be kind of baking into your normal operating costs ongoing upgrades as needed and improvements to the AV capability of that space? I mean, eventually, whether it's a wholesale replacement or whatever it happens to be, things, either maintenance or simply a desire to take advantage of new technology, will that be considered, and if you will, a quasi-operating cost?
I think in the future that's possible. Nothing in the near term, Lori. We're as part of the grant funding, we are getting a lot of new furniture upgrades and desk upgrades. So we are making those kinds of fixtures, kind of improvements as we go. I think that we would assume that we would continue to do that kind of work in the future on a periodic basis.
So John, you're right. One of the questions that came to my mind is why wouldn't the tenant take this on? What specifically does the lease require?
I think it says that, I'd have to pull it up. I think, is it attached as one of your things?
No. It's in with the whereas clauses, the second from the end.
Yeah.
The Exhibit B, Section 1, the lease agreement states that DMI is responsible for the replacement of all information technology equipment. That doesn't mean that you cannot do that. The reason that I drafted this resolution as a payment to Amplify is so that as they are the tenant and it would be part of theirs, that they can enter into the contract to have it installed, and they can work with the installer and any warranty issues and any concerns like that directly without involving the RDC. But as part of the lease, it would be part of their responsibility, but that does not mean that you can't do it if you so choose.
So, sort of look at this as a capital improvement, certainly not a operational expense. What I would be opposed to is getting into a situation where, and maybe to follow up on Lori's question, we don't want to be the funders or administrators of your tech plan and tech equipment, and every time something is problematic, it's suddenly this is ours.
We don't want you to either.
And we're not really following the lease as this section's written. We're kind of going around it, and maybe we can justify it by saying it's a capital expense, and the intent of the lease was for ongoing expenses, which is a little bit different. Anyway, I bring that up as it's a bit of a concern to me. I don't want to go down this path.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John, and I wasn't around in 2018 for the initial improvements to the mill. I'm making an assumption that maybe someone can confirm or dismiss, but I'm assuming at the time that the renovation was happening, all the equipment, all the furniture, all the fixtures were funded by the RDC as part of the redevelopment project. I doubt that the Dimension Mill went out separately and did that. I only raise that because I think this is kind of a unique timing issue with the $800 and some thousand worth of improvements that are happening to the building that the City Redevelopment Commission is not funding. That this is just sort of coincides with that unique circumstance as well.
On that, John, or to the point of the selection as far as what the 69.7 and looking over the Crestron system, which I have a lot of experience with, I have to say, secondary to what the lease says, if we're gonna do this type system, it should be done now, complete, and then if the future Dimension Mill puts money back for that as it goes. A Crestron system, university uses a significant amount of them, and they tend to have a very long life, very durable.
Well, Randy, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't mention it. I mean, that's one of the issues that, why we're here today, is that the build-out continues. The event hall space is expected to be completed mid-June. So if we, pull the trigger on what we're going to install, some of the wiring, some of the integration into the system happens now. We don't have to go back and change any of the electronics or bust up any walls or anything. It'll be installed as part of the redevelopment or the reconstruction project.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? If not, I'll open it for public comment, either online or in person. Seeing none, I will invite a motion for Resolution 2634.
Move approval of Resolution 2635.
It's 34.
34, sorry.
34, 35,
Move
whatever.
approval of Resolution 2634.
Sneak the Hopewell South in there.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll do a vote by a roll call, please.
Sue Scambolery, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRae, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I look forward to having you over when we do our big grand reopening later this summer. I think you'll be really pleased with what we're doing with your building.
Do you have dates for that yet?
No,
Okay,
probably mid-July, late July.
great.
All right, thanks.
Okay, next item on our agenda is Resolution 2635, which is approval of final conditions passed by the Common Council for the Hopewell South PUD ordinance. Who would like to speak to that?
I can start, and Anna can jump in if she wants. You were, sent the PUD as it was passed by the Common Council. As the resolution states, there remains that disagreement between legal counsel, between what's an amendment and what's a reasonable condition. The council had placed several conditions upon the passage of the PUD. Those are listed at the just past the first couple of pages of the ordinance. And you know, we can go through each one of those if you would like to do so. Basically, you know, that's up to you if you want to. The choices that you have are to, in my mind, would be to accept these. And I know from the last resolution that was done, there was much discussion that, you know, that you really, you know, when the previous ones that you accepted, that you really would like to do them to the best of your ability and fully intend to do those, the ones that you previously accepted to the extent that they're feasibly possible to do. And so that language is in there that you would fully intend to do these and commit to these. Commitment's a wrong word to use, but because it has different legal meaning, but that you would strive to achieve all of these, but you know, to the extent that it's feasibly possible to do so. And the hope would be that you could do so, that you would work to find ways to make all of these work out. So I know that Emerson was at the meeting and heard everything. I can't remember if Randy made it or not. So it's up to you if you'd like to go through the reasonable conditions. We can. If you do not wish to accept them, then it would mean to try to draft a different PUD to go back and start again with trying to get something else passed.
Please don't make me do that.
and which really nobody, including Anna and Kendall and I and many others, really don't want to try. There have been discussions internally that we do believe that with, you know, some hard work and effort that it could very likely achieve these and feasibly do so. And so we, you know, work really hard to make that happen if you wish to move forward with the PUD as the conditions placed on them state.
May I interject here too as well? Would you guys like us to go through the list that was kind of finalized? Some of them at this point are a little bit moot, but I'm happy to go through them. I'm not sure who all has taken a look or watched the council meeting from when it was passed.
I'd like to hear it, Anna, if you can.
Okay, let's run through them briefly. I don't want to take a whole lot of time. And I think this is the best that we can do right now. I also want to flag for you that council did say, you know, because we have expressed some concern about how feasible some of the conditions are. But council did say that, you know, if we are unable to meet some of these conditions, to come back to them. So there is that, but let's briefly just chat through what has been presented. So one of the first reasonable condition that was proposed was really semantics and formatting preferences, changing the allowed use table. That was done prior to the
Anna,
submission.
could you reference the ordinance number, just so we can follow?
Sure, so, so if you
Council
are,
ordinance number.
do you guys have the council ordinance number 2026-06
Yes.
in front of you? Okay,
Yes.
let's start on reasonable condition. The first reasonable condition was, which starts on page 4 of that ordinance. It was to update the allowed use table, which again was a formatting preference, and that was done prior to submission to council. Or at least after the first meeting, so that was done pretty early on. That has been completed. The next reasonable condition was related to providing a rational phasing plan, which was already part of the PUD submission as well. Because the infrastructure does not make sense to go in multiple phases, it is only cost effective to do it in one phase. So everything was already intended to be one phase. There is not, and that was also in those documents that were submitted. So that to me is taken care of. The next reasonable condition was related to energy efficiency standards, and I will tell you that the way that this ordinance that we've received in completion from the clerk, it is a little bit confusing because it does list in the initial condition that we would have to meet the LEED silver standards, which is not how we landed, and that is clarified later on in this document as far as how we're meeting energy efficiency standards. So I'll get to that in just a second. The next reasonable condition was related to the 6-foot sidewalk, and I believe that has also been updated to make sure that we're not removing any accessible units or losing any units at all. So there were some wider sections of sidewalk that we landed on as a compromise that would not cost us units. So there's that one. Then the next one was to update the Wiley Street and Jackson Street cross sections to reflect a tree plot minimum width of 5 feet located between the sidewalk and the drive lane for all portions of the right-of-way located within the PUD. In block 8 on the north side of Wiley, the sidewalk may be immediately adjacent to the street for a portion of the block as necessary to accommodate the existing building footprint. If the 714 South Rogers Street building is preserved. So those were all things that we felt like we could reasonably agree to, although it will cost more in, obviously in concrete for both of the last 2 conditions, but we did feel like that was an okay compromise. The next reasonable condition was a requirement that the Rogers cross section be updated to reflect the design requirements of the transportation plan, including the 5-foot tree plot and the 10-foot sidewalks. So again, I think that's the same thing, but it was just the updated language. The next one, on page 10 of 12, the petitioner will work with the City of Bloomington Engineering and Planning and Transportation Departments to design the lanes with a target speed of 10 miles per hour, utilizing design elements intended to create a low speed and high comfort environment for vulnerable road users. I am not an engineer, so I'm not exactly sure what will be necessary to accomplish that. I imagine it's probably gonna be some speed bumps or some other deterrents. Kendall, if he's still in the room, might be able to speak to that better.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you all some options when we get to that, but you could go the parking lot speed hump route, you could do something more aesthetic, but you have to spend more money. So there's ways to do it.
And then, the next reasonable condition, there were multiple reasonable conditions related to the affordability. And this was an alternative that was proposed by, Councilmember Piedmont Smith, at the last meeting. That was, at least 35% of all dwelling units in Hopewell South PUD shall be designed as permanently affordable with a goal of 50% of all dwelling units. So initially, we had submitted at 25%, which was the requirement of the PUD. And so for eligibility, it says a minimum of the 15% of the total dwelling units will be reserved for households earning at or below 90% AMI, and a minimum of 20% of total dwelling units will be reserved for housing earning at or below 120% of the area median income. So, the whole argument has been this entire time that we don't know what the construction costs are, so it's hard to commit to exactly what affordability we can provide. This was a much better compromise than some of the previous reasonable conditions related to affordability, just because we don't know exactly what we're dealing with. So the reasonable condition also goes through that compliance with the requirements shall be secured through a legal mechanism or any combination of mechanisms. It also says that permanent affordability mechanisms shall be structured to remain enforceable independently of ongoing public subsidy. However, the use of public subsidy to establish, preserve, extend, or deepen permanent affordability shall be permitted, provided that affordability restrictions remain in effect for the duration required under this condition. It also says the petitioner shall report back to the Common Council every 6 months from the date of passage of the ordinance for 5 years regarding the methods and progress on implementation. So I think that's probably the most significant reasonable condition that we have on the PUD right now. And then finally, the final page goes through the energy efficiency housing standards, where we actually landed, which was that all the homes shall be designed using a pre-approved plans model to achieve energy performance equivalent to a home energy rating score of 65 or better, and construction documents shall incorporate best practice, air sealing, duct placement within conditioned space, and high efficiency all electric systems. So that was something that we had discussed being sort of our limits for that condition anyway. So that would be it. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I had and sorry, I have to bring back up the resolution. I think we talked a lot about most of these, and I think we had conversations that reflected the sense of the commission that we recognize the need to meet the council where they are and to move the project forward. We know that worst case scenario is we have to go back and do another PUD. I don't think any of us want to do that. I don't think anybody wants to do that. But we need to start and see where we get to. It's a wording change to the resolution that I want to propose to be even clearer about what our intent is. The phrase in the last whereas, it ends with the words feasibly possible, which don't strike me as completely grammatical. Maybe it's legally fine, but it's kind of redundant. But I think what we're really trying to say is we will do whatever we can to meet these conditions, assuming that it's not going to undermine the goals of the project. And I think we should say that. It's going to mean more words in the resolution, but we have had much longer resolutions than this. I don't think that's a big problem. Something like we intend to comply with the conditions to the extent that they can feasibly be accomplished without significantly undermining the goals of increasing Bloomington's housing stock and Bloomington's affordability goals. Something like that. To be very clear, what we're talking about when we say feasible is the ultimate goal of why we're doing Hopewell in the first place. And I can put that text in an email and send it off.
Thank you. I think the words that you
And it would need to,
suggested-
by the way, would need to be restated then, at the end of, number 2 under therefore.
Are you wanting to make that a amendment, Lori?
I'm proposing it as an amendment to this resolution.
Second that.
We're not yet taken to a vote. We're still having comments and then opening it for public comment, so.
Yeah,
But-
I didn't change it now, if that's what everybody wants.
Yeah, we can, I think it would be fine so that when we vote on it, it's as amended.
Dave, do you want me to send you that text? That I just
You might
read?
want to drop it in the chat, and then that way
Okay.
it's
All right.
very clear to the public as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, let's discuss, 'cause so the proposed language is being put in the chat, and we'll invite any discussion on that proposed amendment. Is that what you're interested in commenting on?
No, is this an appropriate time to raise a question? To Lori's amendment?
Yes, please.
I agree with Lori, so the premise is, I think that's reasonable. What I'm not sure about is, she references the Bloomington housing stock, which is pretty broad, and I think that the amendment needs to be limited to PUD. So undermining
the goals of the PUD.
of the PUD or the Hopewell South project or something to that effect.
About the Hopewell South project and the PUD.
Yeah.
All right. That's in the chat.
Any other questions or comments specifically on this proposed amendment, and then we can make sure that there's any other discussion about the resolution as a whole before we open it for public comment? Okay. Gone before we go to public comment?
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Anna a question.
Okay, yeah.
That was about the overall, not the
Okay, no,
amendment.
that's good. I just wanted to make sure that we're covering our bases, so.
All right. So, Anna, this is for you, and it's a hot seat question. The affordability language is gonna be difficult at best. So that we're not kicking a can down the road, is it, in your opinion, really feasible, given the assumption that construction costs, I guess, don't skyrocket any more than they are today?
You're right, it is a hot seat question. I mean, the problem is that we don't know what we don't know. But that being said, I mean, the goal is affordability, which obviously working every day. The good news is that we have multiple tools that will be available for us to help reach this goal. So again, really want to try to accomplish it, see what we can make happen, whether it's by utilizing home funds or partnerships with nonprofits. You know, the other thing that we're working on, as you guys know, is potentially creating a Hopewell South residential TIF, which then would require a housing program and reinvestment in the area. So that might be a tool to help us as well, because I understand that you guys are not interested in committing to permanent subsidies in the project. Completely understand. There's only so much life in the TIF, and we have projects that we're committed to, and it would undermine the overall goal of the PUD. we're gonna do our college try on trying to get as many affordable units as possible without creating an additional burden to the RDC.
Thanks, Anna.
Okay, good question. Any further comments or questions for discussion before opening this for public comment for resolution 26-35?
I'm
For
sorry,
the
I'm not
amendment?
sure. Did the amendment pass yet? I don't think you took a vote.
Well, my understanding, and we can clarify this, is that we were going to have a vote on the resolution as amended, because we haven't voted on this resolution yet.
Right, there's not been a movement to approve it, so there's not going to amend it. This is just a draft.
I see.
So they updated the draft, and so,
So we don't have to vote, I'm sorry to be slow about it.
no, you don't
So
have
we
to
don't
vote
have to
on
vote on the
the
amendment?
amendment, because this is just a draft that I bring to you, and then you edit it the way you want it, and then you make a motion to approve it the way you want it. So you've made some edits to it, so you would move to approve it as it's been edited.
So any other edits are appropriately brought up now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Minor one, if I may, the 1, 2, 3,
That's
4.
the whereas.
The fifth whereas paragraph
Yeah.
has apparently omitted a couple words by resolution 2584. Any and all bids for the Hopewell South blocks 9 and 10 were rejected
Yeah, that's been added on.
as they did not
Yeah, there's
appropriately
3
serve the goals.
resolutions that was left out of.
So we'll
they've all
correct
been
that for the
added
other
into
ones.
Today.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so I'm vetting any further comments from commissioners, edits, amendments. Again, we're not voting on it yet because we're gonna open it for public comment, but I'm looking if we're transitioning to public comment or if there's anything further that commissioners would like to discuss for 2635.
Just one more point of clarification in regards to it, since Lori's put this in the chat, and then Dana's going to include that in this resolution.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it has been changed in the resolution.
So when we vote on this, it will be as amended based on the language that's in the chat as presented, that's been amended, as well as the edit that Commissioner Scambolari had noted for that fifth whereas, to make sure that the different course of action for blocks 9 and 10 or rejected of Hopewell South that is necessary for the existing plan is not achievable. Okay, are we done with comments and questions and amendments and edits? Seeing no further, I will open public comment either online or in person for resolution 26-35. Yes, would you like to come up?
Hi, Isabel Piedmont Smith, City Council District 1. Please vote yes. I think that even though it was very painful for everybody involved, especially Anna, I think that the end result with the reasonable conditions is a better project, and I'm confident that that you'll be able to get more affordable units this way, and it'll be overall a great boon to the community. So I hope that you will vote yes. And I am mainly the author of the big compromise between requiring 50% to be permanently affordable and requiring 25% to be permanently affordable. So I think we ended at 35%. That was still not good enough for 3 council members, I should say. It was a 6-3 vote. And if that is not feasible, then you wouldn't have to start over with a whole new PUD. You could just come back to council and ask for an amendment. So that's my comment. Please vote yes. Thank you. Thank you for the collaboration. I know it was tricky.
Thank you. Okay, any further public comment online? In person, seeing none, I will invite a motion for resolution 26-35.
I'll move approval of resolution 2635.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by a roll call, please.
Sue Scambaluri, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. And I'm just gonna make a side note. There was an email I got earlier from a neighbor of Hopewell South who had some comments. There is the continued plating that will be going on. There is definitely opportunity for more public input as needed. But just want to emphasize that this is a project that is ongoing. The final details are still taking shape. And so if there are people who would like to contribute their opinions and concerns, considerations, that there is continued opportunity to do that, so.
Yeah, they should forward them to the hand department, and in that way they can get filtered to the right people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And thank you, Anna, for going through those conditions. They were, you're much better with the technical part of those things than me. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys. I am so glad that we're through this because that was miserable.
Really, thank you.
I keep it real.
Okay, well, the next item on our agenda is perhaps a slightly simpler version of Hopewell South, which is Resolution 2636, approval of Hopewell South lot line adjustment. Who would like to speak to that?
Kendall Pinoki, Engineering Department. Thank you for your attention tonight. So this is something I hinted on during my update, but this is adjusting the lot lines that exist currently at Hopewell South. This is to provide the opportunity to construct some early homes. So probably the most useful link to click on is the one that says Attachment 2, Exhibit A. This essentially shows you the three existing lots that were platted 100 years ago as part of the Dixie Highway addition to the city of Bloomington. We are essentially just moving where those lines are. This is something that is commonly done between two property owners when they agree on a new location of the lot line. They can do that administratively through our planning department. That's exactly what we've done here. The RDC owned all three of these lots. So essentially this matches the future plan lot lines than the approved PUD. And this just shifts the existing lot lines to create basically two lots in the future subdivision. So 148A and 149A are essentially what's going to be created in the future, and then 150A is the remainder. But these are three lots of record, so anyone can apply for a building permit from the building department and receive that and build a structure on these lots. They are already ready to go, so no, for all the other lots, we're going to have to go through platting, we're going to have to go through permitting, all kinds of permitting. These would just be Class 2 structures, which the state legislature has streamlined. It's a 2-week process. So as soon as you sign these deeds and get this recorded, you can have a permit to build a structure in 2 weeks if you wanted to. I know that the RDC as a body has to go through additional steps, public offerings, things, but essentially this sets you up to be able to do something really fast, which is really exciting. So we are ready to go ahead and record this. I'm happy to answer any further questions on it. That's all I have for my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from commissioners on resolution 2636?
I guess I just want to make sure I know what I'm looking at. So the exhibit that has the three lots identified, that's what I ought to be looking at.
Yep.
All right.
I think so.
Okay.
And there's probably an address associated with the former medical office building that was there if you want to kind of get an idea of where you are in space.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners on resolution 2636 about the lot line adjustment? I will open it for public comment, either online or in person. Seeing none, I will open it for a motion for resolution 2636.
Move approval of resolution 2636.
Second.
We've got a first and a second. We'll do.
Are you? Hey, when I saw you the other day, when you were walking.
We're gonna need to mute.
Yeah, were you running down the beeline and then walking back?
No, I just have been mainly I call it tower walking.
Trying to figure out which one it is.
That's what I
I
did
can't
just
find
now.
it.
I think it's Eric.
I'm running out of soft tissue.
Okay, I think I got him.
Thank you. At least it was nothing too untoward. Okay, we did have a first and a second. We are now doing a vote by a roll call on 2636.
Sue Scambolery, yes.
Oh, John West, yes, I was so taken back by Eric.
Yeah, Lori McRowley, yes. Oh, Randy, you can come off mute, I think. Can you raise your? Or?
There you go.
Randy there we go, okay. Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously for resolution 2636. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is resolution 2637, which is approval of an agreement with Calumet Civil Contractors Incorporated for temporary storage at Hopewell East Development. Who would like to speak to that?
Ken Okanoki Engineering Department again. So we're actually shifting projects now. This is the federally funded 2nd Street project that's happening on 2nd Street between Walker and the Beeline. The RDC happens to be the proud owners of a very nice empty lot directly adjacent to the construction site in a very urbanized area. So of course this was quite enticing to the contractor. They needed some a location for some laydown and construction staging. So this is a request for them to utilize the northwest portion of Hopewell East for that. So this is at the intersection of 2nd and Rogers, the southeast corner. If you look at the Calumet laydown exhibit, which is one of the links in your agenda, you can take a look at the requested laydown area. So this is a location will essentially be a fenced-in gravel contractor yard for the duration of construction, which is through the end of the year. And then once they're done, they'll take up all that gravel and fencing and they'll reseed the lot for the future plans. There are existing monitoring wells related to the environmental studies that have been done and continue to be done on Hopewell East. So those areas we have taken note of those, and those will be protected with concrete jersey barriers. So the contractor will stay out of those areas. They will access the site from 2nd Street. So this is the side that they're just going to be reconstructing anyway. At the very, very end, when they build the sidewalk and kind of finalize that, we'll have them access from the existing alley that exists back there, but generally they'll be accessing from the front and protecting everything else that was built as part of Hopewell East. Yeah, this is essentially a request from the contractor to you all, for their construction purposes. They're responsible for any other permits they need to do. This isn't really something that the city is we're facilitating this request, but generally it's a agreement between the contractor and the RDC. So happy to answer any questions on it.
Okay. Any questions or comments from commissioners on 2637?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Kendall, I've got, I don't have a problem with the purpose, but I've got 3 issues. And they're all in the agreement. There's a 90-day, what I call kick-out clause. but this is only a 7-month contract, so I think 90 days is too long. It should be 30. If I'm right, if I got my bearings right, this is that kind of grassy area. It's a little bit of a slope. It's right on the corner of Second and Rogers. So they're gonna basically gravel that part of it anyway, so they can take vehicles on it, right? Okay, so there is, in this, I heard what you said, but in the agreement, I don't see any language that would enforce erosion control, and I don't see any language that requires them, despite what you said, put it back into the condition it is in.
That'd be 13.
Yeah, I don't think it says that.
Shall return possession of the property in same or improved condition as when Calumet took possession.
Yeah, it's the same language that we always use, and I always bring this up. At least I'd like to see that something expanded for ongoing erosion control, because we spent a lot of time and effort to get that to be a nice grassy area that's now doesn't have any runoff. We're going to have runoff as soon as they start digging it up. So,
and I put the 90 days in there, and the reason I did that was because when they're working with that construction project, if they're in the middle of the project, I know it's going to be difficult to find another area. But I also put in there if they breached in any way by not living up to any of the other terms of the agreement, that they would have 10 days from notice to cure it, and if they didn't cure it, they'd have to be out in 5 days.
Then I think we need to be a little more specific as to our expectations while they're using the land, because if they fall back on the 90 days, most likely the contract is over anyway. So it doesn't allow you to have an immediate take immediate action, particularly.
So what would you like to see?
Well, somewhere up here you've got where they are professional in the way they use the property. I don't remember the exact language. Maybe we ought to put a little detail into that. What are our expectations? I think they've got to, be sure they contain themselves within the allotted area. They've got to use they've got to control the erosion and put up all the barriers necessary to prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy, I need your help on this. This is your cup of tea.
Yeah, well, my concern completely is what it took to get us to get grass established there and keep it from eroding, and also taking into consideration the street to the east, which we've already reconstructed, and where they're going to add a second gate to the street improvements. From a standpoint of looking at a laydown, I know convenience and ease on a 7-month project is going to be beneficial. But I also look at the circumstances of what has happened in the past, and while all contractors, we all have our intent to put everything back, it may not necessarily get that way. So my question is, who's going to establish what it is now, and then what it needs to be put back, and possibility of a bond for doing that? Kendall, is this under the Public Works requirements from a contractual standpoint?
I think this is an agreement between the RDC and the contractor, so you can put in any requirements you want, but the Board of Public Works is not involved.
Let me rephrase that, Kendall. Is this contract between Calumet and the City of Bloomington being administered through Public Works?
No.
this thing?
Well, okay, so the construction project, it's a federally funded project, so it's actually through NDOT.
Okay, so it's an NDOT basis.
So the contracts would be RDC, Randy.
Okay, contracts RDC, but it's through NDOT.
This agreement is RDC and the contractor. The project is between the contractor and NDOT. And then we, as the city, the Board of Public Works, has a contract with NDOT.
Okay, my main concern, John, is the basis of being able to put it back. I mean, we don't even know what's gonna happen with this lot at the present moment, so gravel may not be a bad thing, but the erosion's an issue, and then the concern I have is that we've got a secondary gate that needed to protect the Second Street improvements, but I want to make sure that we can have it put back correctly, and that the improvements that have already been done to the east side on this roadway that Milestone did isn't jeopardized after the fact. So to put language in, the simplest thing is to see if we could identify what it costs to put it back with and just have a bond so we can verify. I mean, bond is not a horrible expense in regards to it at the level of the size contract we did.
At the very least, maybe we ought to have some photos of what it is today.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not going on memory.
Right, because there's already been and I happen to just happenstance on, there's already been a circumstance across the street on the west side there where when they were doing their, getting ready for the temporary traffic signals where they buried the truck. That was a subcontractor, so. I'm just concerned, my main concern is verifying what it is now and making sure it gets put back correctly. And whose responsibility is it to verify it and that the money's there either in retention or in a bond?
Well, since they're not paying any rent, there's no security deposit, there is no money, so bond's your only option.
Right.
If you wanna get down that road.
Well, I'm just looking at the standpoint of what we do to make sure, because once the project's done, it's done, and if there's any damage is the only thing. If it's an NDOT project, Kendall, what recourse do we have?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts here. So these roads are not yet accepted by the Board of Public Works. If the alley and the new road, Madison Street, was accepted by the board, they would have to still get a right-of-way use permit from us if they were going to use those roads in any way. And then we would have a bond, we being the engineering department. However, these haven't been accepted by the board yet because we're still closing out permits. So they're really RDC-owned roads. So you all are rightfully so, I think, responsible for holding a bond for these roads until those roads are accepted by the board. So I guess we have two options. We take them to get accepted by the Board of Public Works ASAP, or probably more simpler, they just have to post a bond.
So it's more than just the laydown area we're talking about, it's the travel area around as well.
Well, the laydown area is just accessible by Second Street, but I think what...
Yeah, but when it's travel accessible from the south.
Well, yeah, I mean...
They're gonna have to go through RDC property.
The idea was that it wouldn't be accessible from the south, only at the very end, after they built their sidewalk.
Yeah, but at that very end, they will be
right
using RDC property. So this doesn't cover
to access, yeah.
So we need to.
I mean, the other option is we could say you have to take down the staging area and then finish the sidewalk and just never use the RDC's property, I suppose.
I would think that would at least be our best realm so that we minimize the amount of traffic that is occurring, because during construction afterwards, having that argument of whose responsibility is always becomes a problem. So if they could eliminate that exit onto the south end, that would help relieve some of the potential issues for problems or, finger pointing in the future.
Dana, I might recommend just adding a number in there that says access is only permitted from Second Street to the staging area. Maybe that would cover it.
Do we need to vote on this today, or can you guys take our comments, modify the agreement, and bring it back next time? I really don't want to do this on the fly.
Any reason we can't do this?
I think we just tell them it's not ready yet. Have to find something.
Yeah, there's, with that renovation stuff too, I think there's not enough time to get it ready.
All right.
You have a comment?
Actually, I was just gonna say exactly what John suggested, so.
I agree with John.
Okay, so proposal is to postpone and return with a revised agreement based on comments to secure some of the concerns that have been discussed. Okay, thank you for that discussion. We will move to the next item on our agenda. So that's tabled for 2637. We're moving to 2638, which is authorization for city staff to apply for the submission of a primary plat, secondary plat, plat vacation, PUD final plan, and all associated permits and approvals for Hopewell South on behalf of the RDC. Who is speaking to that? Is that?
Yep, Kevin the engineering department again. So this is essentially, we have to make a number of applications, the plan commission, for our primary plat and our plat vacation of the Dixie Highway Edition. And then just a number of applications to the planning department for secondary plat staff level approval, PUD final plan approval, site development permit. We have to apply to CBU a million times along the way. We have to apply to IDEM for sanitary sewer and water main permitting. We have to apply to the state for our construction stormwater general permit. These are just the things that come to mind. So this is kind of a blanket approval. You're saying we affirm and agree with the project. We want it to move forward. Please apply for all of these permits in order to do so. I will, I guess, warn you that I do plan on coming back to ask for specific, design changes, update you on specific milestones, but as soon as you approve this resolution, essentially the PUD as it's been approved by City Council and as the conditions have been approved tonight, we're essentially moving forward, preparing construction documents, getting all of our permits and approvals, and putting it out to bid, and then coming back to you to award it to a contractor with an actual dollar amount associated with that. So if you would like to have another, there's going to be maybe the secondary plat we talked about when you have to sign that. We'll come back for that. And maybe there's something that I'm forgetting that we'll have to come back for. But essentially, this is authorizing us to bring it all the way to the point of award and then coming to you with here's what it's going to cost, here's the apparent low bidder, can we award this? So if you'd like to be informed or updated at another step in the process, you can let me know, or you can require it as part of this resolution. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions on this.
Thank you.
And I think I talked about the schedule a little bit too earlier, but I can reiterate that too if needed.
And we'd be happy to report too of any things that were completed, any permits that were signed and or applications that were signed, so you can have a running tab of those and put those in the minutes.
Okay, thank you for that additional information. Do we have any questions or comments on Resolution 2638 as described? Okay. Hearing none, any public comment, either online or in person? Seeing none, I will invite a motion for Resolution 2638.
I'll move approval of Resolution 2638.
Second?
We've got a first and a second. We'll do a vote by roll call, please.
Sue Scambolari, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Motion passes unanimously for Resolution 2638. Thank you.
Quick comment to
Yeah.
Kendall. It wasn't part of the resolution, but to your point about coming back and having to report, we didn't really respond to that. I'm only speaking for me, I don't think you need to come back every 2 weeks and report unless there's something significant that has to be reported on, or every time you hit a milestone here, you could tell the staff and.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not that we
welcome to
don't-
send a
it-
written memo, I think, you know, that could be part of the.
We'd be happy to
meeting
put your
packet.
name on that chair if you want to come back. But, just get her done.
Okay, we've got one more item on the main business part of the agenda, which is Resolution 2639, approval of professional services agreement with Applied Engineering for plumbing engineering services at the 4th Street Garage. Who would like to speak to that?
I can start out.
Okay.
So you'll remember a couple of meetings ago in my treasurer's report, I talked about some remediation that needed to be done at the 4th Street Garage, and that there were excess funds in the 4th Street Garage taxable bonds to be able to fund that, and that we would be seeing some contracts associated with that remediation. Well, this is the first and kind of probably most urgent of the contracts associated with those repairs that I described. And we have here Jess Goodman, who is the manager of parking garages for Public Works, for parking services, who's going to describe the project.
Okay, Jess Goodman, I'm with the Department of Public Works. This Applied Services is going to assess the 4th Street Garage. They're going to look at the existing storm drains, see if the laterals are sloped where they're supposed to be. They're also going to assess the sub pump to make sure it is large enough for the size of the garage. So right now we're having a lot of flooding because of the storm drains are just not working properly. So they will be putting together a scope of work so I can put it out for a bid for the repairs.
And I will just add that you have a tenant moving in relatively soon, and right now there is water is leaking in the space that you're going to have a tenant occupying.
Yes.
So.
Thank you for that presentation. Comments, questions from commissioners on Resolution 2639?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So if I'm understanding you correctly, there's still bond funds available.
There are 442,000.
And so we're drawing down on those funds. Well, that's good news. This resolution, that's got nothing to do with staff, by the way, just infuriates me. Clearly, there was, this project was not spec'd correctly at the beginning. And so we're coming back and now doing it again. How old is this garage?
It opened up in 2022, in August of 22.
So it's not that old.
I mean, we're not talking normal wear and tear, right?
No,
This is
we don't have any recourse?
Is there not errors and omissions insurance from the original contractor that would cover this kind of thing?
Well, probably not that, but maybe some bond, well, their bond's been released. I mean, this is ridiculous.
That's a 4-year-old garage.
Yeah.
And it was just not plumbed properly from the get-go. So I don't know if this is the subcontractor's fault or the architect's fault that signed off on it, or, an engineer's mistake, but this is.
I think this engineering study will help tell us that. What
I was gonna ask,
is
do we
the
need this
basis?
assessment in order to make our case
Yes,
or something like that?
yes, we would need to know, is this a cause? Is there something else that was done afterwards that led to this? Has it been overflowing for 4 years? It's been flooding for 4 years. What we need to look into it more, but trying to find out if things were slope properly to begin with, if pumps were sized correctly, if the sump itself was sized correctly. Those are all things that we would need to know to determine where an error or omission might have occurred. Was it actually built to specifications? Those are all questions we can't answer without doing some work to find out why it's doing what it's doing.
And
So,
if that were the case, could we then, and if we found errors or omissions, could we theoretically recoup the 14,000?
possibly, if it.
Well, not to mention the repair cost.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
of course.
there's,
Yeah, this is the small
This is,
part.
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
all it's asking us for today.
yeah, of course, there are statutes of limitations and things like that, time to bring. I don't know what all those are off the top of my head for architectural engineering services, so but it would be something the legal department would be looking into.
Okay, all right. Good to know.
So in sum, we need to do this, to have whatever information we need
Yeah.
to possibly recoup something. Okay.
And may I just say, I think not only do you need to do this to potentially recoup something, but even if that's not possible due to statutes of limitations, you clearly need to do both this and any subsequent repair to make sure that the garage, you get the full lifetime out of the garage.
I
and-
recognize that.
Yeah.
This wasn't in lieu of that.
No, I know, I just,
After this engineering is done, we will have an evaluation of what the problem was and the potential for what it takes to repair it. The repairs are gonna be necessary irregardless of if we're able to recover or not. We need to know so we can have the potential of finding out why a 4-year-old garage already has problems.
Yeah.
Right, correct.
Okay, any further comments or questions from commissioners on resolution 2639? If not, I will open it for public comment. Not seeing anything in person or online, I will open it for a motion for resolution 2639.
Move
Take
approval.
a motion to approve 2639 as presented.
Second.
Second.
Got a first and second. We'll do a vote by roll call, please.
Sue Scambler, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Randy Cassidy, yes.
Deborah Meyerson, yes. Passes unanimously for 2639. Thank you. That's the conclusion of our new business. Any other outstanding business items that would be at this part of the agenda? I'm
I
gonna,
have one
yeah.
quick
Go ahead.
I have one quick question in regards to it. Dana, have we had any additional information come back from our bond council on our Showers West?
No, we are still working with them. We've gathered a bunch of information and we're exchanging that information, and that's where we're at right now.
All right, thank you.
One item I wanted to bring up is that there was just a question of whether the RDC has an opportunity for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. And my understanding is that the custom is there would not be that, but it's a custom as opposed to maybe a policy. And my question is to make that just formal, so it's not an ad hoc thing or trying to remember how to do it. If the RDC would like to make that a policy, one, if they would, and two, if the answer is yes, to make that a policy that all public comment is reserved for items on the agenda. How we establish that more formally, just to be able to be consistent with that.
I would recommend that you make a vote on the record for that, and then that it be reflected on the agenda, that the public comment is reserved for items that are on the agenda.
That could just be a standing reference on the agenda, just so
Yes.
that it's always there, okay?
Yes.
So I will open, that's my proposal, that might be something of interest for the RDC, just to make, operation of our business meeting as predictable and known as possible. I'm opening that for discussion amongst the commissioners if you would like to consider making that a policy that, as Mr. Kerr said, would be on the agenda, just kind of as a note for everybody's reference.
I think that would clarify expectations for the public as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Okay.
I agree, and I think the policy, although it's been practiced forever that way, we ought to codify it, so I would, if you make a motion, I would agree with it.
I would ask the question, do we wish to give you or the president of the RDC the power to set time limits as well? I can see there being occasions when that would be very helpful.
You mean comments during for resolutions?
I'm sorry?
You mean resolution comments?
When public, setting time limits on public comments, so 3 minutes per member of the public, for example, or something like that.
When they're speaking to a resolution?
Correct.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's a separate item we need to vote on, or it's, if we are simply setting policy regarding public comment in general.
It's however you choose to do it. First of all, under Indiana state law, you do not have to offer public comment at all. I recommend not, but you don't have to. The only ones by state law that have to are school boards. But if you do offer it, it is good to have some guidelines, and it is good to post those on the agenda so those coming to the meetings know. It is not uncommon for people to, boards and commissions to set time limits. It can be time limits per person. It could be time limits per public comment period, or it could be time limits for both. 3 minutes, 5 minutes are very common. 20 minutes, 30 minutes are very common for total. It could.
This meeting's killing me.
Randy, silent yourself.
Randy, your mic's on.
Jeez.
So you can say, okay.
That'll be on the B square bulletin.
Maybe it could be 1 minute and 5 minutes, 1 minute per person. 5 minutes. Sorry.
Can I ask you just a question as to whether the Common Council sets time limits for public comment?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
3 minutes.
And what is that?
It's 3 minutes.
3 minutes per person.
And sometimes that's shortened.
I would say that if we impose time limits, they ought to be consistent with what other public bodies do, because it makes it a little bit easier for people who are, attending our public meetings. And, we can always be soft on how rigidly we enforce that. I suspect that happens in the council meetings. It's just a thought to keep things consistent.
Let me give you an example. At our last meeting, school board meeting, I'm on the RBB school board. We had a public comment period, and it was supposed to be for 30 minutes. There was a number of people wanting to comment. So at the end of 30 minutes, I asked, being the president, I asked for a motion to extend that comment period. And there was a motion and a second, and it was voted to extend that comment period. And we went longer to allow those who were there to make their comments. It's very rare for us to have that many people. So we went ahead and extended it. So you have the flexibility to amend that. I recommend amending it by a vote if you're going to amend it during the meeting. But you can always do that during the meeting if you so choose. Also, as the president of the commission, you have the authority to regulate the decorum, make sure everybody's in line and things like that as well. But yes, so you can limit what, and many people do limit to what's on the agenda for, like you said, for the very reason of knowing what you're going to be talking about when you get there. So you can be very much prepared, especially if this isn't your everyday job. But again, most boards and commissions do limit the amount of time per person. Again, council does 3 minutes. And if you wanted to limit it per item, as well as you could. It's up to you.
I'd suggest we go to a limit per person, and we don't necessarily have an overall limit. First of all, we don't get that many, that much public comment, and it's not, as long as we stick to the agenda, 3 minutes per person, I would think would be fine. I don't want to cut people off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind cutting an individual off if they're gonna talk too long, but I don't wanna cut off people that actually showed up because our 20 minutes is gone, and then we gotta go through the process of extending. And we can always modify that if we find we have a room full of public commenters, but the room's not big enough to have that many people here anyway, so it's not, it's not like the council that's, brings on a huge assembly.
So what would be a next step?
Someone to make a motion for what they wished, if it's to limit public comment to the items that are on the agenda. Actually, you've been limiting the comment to action items on the agenda as far as resolutions. You don't take comments on claims or minutes or things like that. Limiting comments to the resolutions on the agenda and limiting comments to 3 minutes per person. Someone wants to make a motion to that effect, and it passed. That can be added to the agenda. So when it goes out, it's printed there, everybody knows, and it's in the minutes as having been adopted by this commission.
Okay, so I'm gonna make the proposal as stated. Essentially, I'm not gonna repeat everything you just said, because that's
Okay.
basically, I think, what we've discussed and agreed on, and that would be then posted on each agenda, that's the policy, so that's known by everybody who is at the meeting.
Does that have to come back as a resolution at the next meeting, or will this be just added as a item that the RDC just approves to be added on the agenda?
This is just an item that you're voting on. It does not need to be a resolution. It does need to be voted on because it's a policy for the commission, but since it's a policy, it's not a resolution.
Okay, so, yeah.
When will we be able to put that policy out for public? They'll know it as of next month, next meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, as of next meeting, and it'll be in the minutes from this meeting on the next meeting for the approval of minutes for this meeting, and it'll be on the agenda next meeting.
So it'll be on every agenda, Randy, they can see it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so appropriately, I would make the motion. Okay, so I'm making the motion to adopt that policy as stated.
Second,
We've got a first and a second, we'll do a vote by roll call, please.
Sue Scambolery, yes.
John West, yes.
Lori McRobbie, yes.
Randy, you're silent.
We can't manage our mics today.
I'll have to get you a secretary.
Hey, I'm sitting in a bar in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, jeez. And we needed to know that?
It's a honey bar.
All right, I don't want to know anymore.
Did you vote, Randy?
Yeah,
Yes.
he said
Okay,
yes.
I didn't know if I heard, I just heard about the bar. Okay, and I am also voting yes, that's a unanimous vote for the policy as stated, will be on the agenda as of the next meeting. Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
We don't need the part
microphone
about the bar
use
in the
or
minutes, though.
We need a motion on microphone use or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, he needs training.
Okay, any other further business before we get a motion to adjourn? Seeing none? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, thank you all.